how do machines actually learn? The secret isn't some massive, super complex equation. It's actually a tiny little decision, a simple on or off switch, happening inside every single artificial neuron. And today, we're going to flip that switch and see how it works. Okay, let's just jump right in. At its core, a single neuron is, well, it's basically a calculator. It takes in a bunch of numbers, multiplies them by how important they are, those are the weights, and then it just adds them all up. That's it. So you have to ask, right? If it's all just simple addition, how on earth can a network of these things learn to do something crazy complex, like recognizing your face in a photo? How do we get from basic arithmetic to real understanding?
So let's really look at this basic sum for a second. The neuron crunches the numbers and gets a value. Let's call it z. Now, if we stop there, the output would just be a straight linear continuation of that sum. You put in a bigger number, you get a bigger number out. Simple. But that's a huge problem because the real world isn't a straight line. You can't model all its complex, messy patterns with just a ruler.
Exactly. For those of you who know databases, this is a perfect analogy. A neuron's raw sum is just raw data. It needs a rule, like a case statement, to decide what to do with it. It has to make a judgment call. Is this information important enough to pass on? And if so, with how much intensity? This is precisely where the activation function steps in. And this transformation, this little decision, is absolutely the crucial step. It's like a gatekeeper or an on switch. It takes that raw number and decides if the neuron fires or if it stays silent. And this super simple decision, when it's repeated thousands or even millions of times across a network, is what lets it learn these incredibly complex patterns from data. So, what is an activation function really? Well, simply put, it's a math function that we apply to that summed value z. And its main job, its entire reason for existing, is to introduce non-linearity. And that's the key. Non-linearity is what lets the network break free from those boring straight lines and start to understand the messy, complicated curves of the real world. And that's the whole thing in a nutshell. It's just a function that takes that intermediate sum, z, and turns it into the final output, which we call y hat. It's a tiny step for one neuron, but it is a giant leap for the network's ability to learn. Okay, so what do these functions actually look like? Let's take a quick tour of some of the most common ones, starting with the classics, the ones that really shaped the early days of deep learning. First up, we have the sigmoid function. Its signature move is that it takes any number you give it, positive, negative, huge, tiny, doesn't matter, and it squashes it into a neat and tidy range between 0 and 1. This makes it absolutely perfect for any time you need to predict a probability. Like, what's the chance this email is spam? Sigmoid will give you an answer between 0% and 100%. Next is its very close cousin, tan, which stands for hyperbolic tangent. You can see it looks a lot like sigmoid, but it has one really important difference. Instead of squashing the output between 0 and 1, it squashes it to a range between -1 and +1. And here's why that matters. If you look at them side by side, sigmoid's output is always positive. Tan's output, on the other hand, is centered around 0. And having that 0-centered output can actually help the network learn a bit more efficiently because the signals getting passed between layers are more balanced. Now, those S-shaped functions were great, but they had some issues that could really slow down learning, especially in super deep networks. So this led researchers to something way, way simpler. Let's talk about the function that is now the undisputed champion in most networks. It's called relu. Mate relu, the rectified linear unit. And the rule here could not be any easier. If the input number is negative, the output is just 0, flat. If the input is positive, the output is just the input itself. That's it. It basically acts like a gate. Either it shuts off completely or it lets the signal pass right on through untouched. So why is this ridiculously simple function the go-to choice now? Well, there are two huge reasons. First, it's incredibly fast to compute. There's no fancy math, just checking if a number is bigger than 0. That makes training networks way faster. And second, it helps fix a really tricky problem called the vanish ingredient, which is where the learning signal gets weaker and weaker as it goes through a deep network. relu keeps that signal strong for positive values, so the network can keep on learning. Of course, people didn't just stop there. Researchers came up with clever variations. You've got leaky relu, which lets a tiny little bit of signal through for negative inputs just to keep the neuron from completely dying. And then you have things like swish, which is a smoother function that, it turns out, can sometimes work even better than the original relu.
And you might think, do these little tweaks really matter? Well, yeah, they can. Research showed that just by swapping out relu for swish, they saw a nearly 1% improvement on the huge ImageNet image classification challenge. And trust me, in the world of deep learning, a 0.9% gain is a really big deal.
Okay, so we've seen a bunch of options, which brings us to the big question. The one everyone building these networks asks, which one should I actually use, and when? Let's put together a quick, practical playbook.
All right, here's a simple guide. For all the hidden layers in your network, that's everything between the input and the final output, just start with relu. It's the default for a reason. Now, if your problem is a binary classification, a yes, no, spam, not spam kind of thing, then you use a sigmoid function in your very last layer. That'll give you that nice probability score between 0 and 1. Simple as that. But let's be real for a second. Even with all these different options we've talked about, here's the bottom line. In the real world, practitioners use just two functions almost all the time. Relu for pretty much everything on the inside, and sigmoid for a binary output. That simple recipe will get you incredibly far. Hey, if this breakdown helps clear things up for you, do us a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps us make more explainers just like this one. And we'll leave you with this final thought. We just saw how a very, very simple rule inside a neuron, just a little mathematical switch, can lead to the incredibly complex, almost magical behavior of a neural network that can learn. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What's a simple rule in your world or in your job that creates the most surprising and complex results? Thanks for tuning in.